Hey guys, what's up? So yeah, I went Feral Druid for a tournament. Was it the best idea? Maybe not, but how I walk you through it in this video, it might shed a little light on why I chose to play Feral in the dueling tournament. We're going to go over to some duels that I had with just random people out front of Orgrimmar, and then also some STV duels, as well as then the duels that I had in the tournament. I knew I was going up against a rogue in the first tournament, as my first matchup. So knowing that I was going to go up against a rogue, and especially an orc rogue, I'll explain to you why I was like, screw it, I'll go feral. So orc has a 25% chance to resist your stuns. If you noticed in the dueling tournament, I actually got really bad RNG also with my stuns. Even the game that I got an opener on Savix, my opening stun resisted. So that obviously is a big bummer. But that's kind of what you have to know going into the duel, that probably will happen with a rogue. With an orc. And if you see how other druids in the tournament did against rogues, it wasn't that great as resto. My gear also is, I didn't really farm out at the 40 bracket like I did at the 30 bracket. So my gear was all right. Like I still had a lot of stuff from level 30, and so I knew I couldn't really go into the tournament as resto and be confident. My gear was, like I said, mostly from the level 30 bracket. I had a few pieces of better gear, but at that point I was saying, hey, no one else is representing Feral Druid. I'll come out and play Feral, and we'll see how it goes. I didn't really expect to get even as far as I did. That being said, I think I got lucky with a few of my matchups. So I'll talk you through Feral. So going Feral, like I said, against a rogue, especially against a orc, the stun resist is just huge. So if you're playing resto, what you're going to do is you're going to start out in bear. They're going to get an opener on you, and you either need to, you're going to have to try and bash them off of you and get some distance with a root. And there, right then, you're having to deal with RNG with a bash. Now, if you were resto and you had engineering, you could also rely on grenades, but those could also be resisted as well. And I also don't have engineering high enough to utilize anything. So I don't have any. I didn't have the Dragonling pet. I didn't have chicken. I didn't have Netomatic. I didn't have all those major cooldowns that other people relied on. So I knew that I was going to have to sit a lot in bear form, and dire bear form is very strong. So I kind of just, I don't know. I kind of just decided to go feral this time around, see what I could do. I knew that I was going to just, like I said, be sitting in bear form a lot. So that being said, I did get lucky with my matchups. I thought the one match that I won against Savix, I think he was waiting. Like I rooted him, and then he was waiting, and I think he told Tips like that he had got a 5-point kidney shot on me. Because we had redueled, but he had kept all his combo points. But I had trinketed out of it anyways. I actually didn't even look at the debuff to see how long the kidney shot had lasted for. I just immediately trinketed. So would I have won that duel anyways when I did win it? Maybe, maybe not. He probably would have vanished out of the roots. I had Fairy Fire up on him, but Vanish does break the root CC, so I think he would have it would have been closer, but who knows. Anyways, he's a really good player, so I went in knowing that it was probably going to be very close. I did practice against some other rogues. I practiced against Bobka. I think Bobka and I dueled 4 times, and I won either 2 or 1 of them. I can't remember, but they were all fairly close. Whereas anytime I dueled a rogue in my resto gear, like my intellect gear, and I was restoration, I just got destroyed. I just didn't have enough. I didn't have good enough gear. So I knew that my only hope really was playing Feral. So that's why I chose to play Feral. And then I just got lucky with the rest of my matchups. Obviously going against Reverie, who I didn't really know before this beta, but he does stream and he's actually a really good druid. His matchup against Sony, he played it really, really well, and he pretty much destroyed Sony, which is always good to see. I think people were saying that Sony and Chance's duel was extremely fun to watch, but I think Chance played that matchup really, really poorly. And I think he even said on his stream that he played that one duel really, really bad. I'm not sure what he was doing. I don't know. I think he said he was just tired and stuff, but people were saying that matchup was really fun to watch and super close, which I think is kind of funny because I think the matchup that should have gotten attention was Reverie's duel against Sony, where he kicked Sony out down to the losers bracket, 2-0ing him when Sony popped literally every cooldown in the first fight. So I was really, really impressed with his druid play, and I do wish he had gotten further. Sadly, when it's druid versus druid, I'm just going to win since I was Feral. He's not going to be able to outlast me. So, I mean, regardless of how skilled you are, there was nothing he could have done to really make that duel go in his favor. Maybe if he got super, super lucky, or I played really poorly. But I know some people had said that they were asking for a reduel and saying that it was stupid that that we rolled for who gets the opener for that best of one. But what I have to say on that is it wouldn't have really mattered anyways because I'm Feral, so I have improved stealth. So I would have found him out before he found me out. And then I would have gotten the opener on him anyways, and then he would have been in cat form, so he would have been in even more trouble, whereas this way he started out in bear form. But so for people who asked for a reduel on that duel, I think it would have gone the same way regardless. But yeah, he's a really good druid, and I hope to see more stuff from him. I know he streams, so I'll definitely be watching him in the future. What else, guys? In terms of these duels that you're watching now, I kind of just tried to duel as many people as I could. Not only for, like, I didn't think I was going up against any Warlock in the tournament when I looked at the brackets. At least not for a long, long time. And I didn't really think I was going to get very far as Feral, like I said. So this duel right here against Nerzel, which he's SL, was mainly just for fun, you know, just having fun on the beta, dueling a lot of different classes. It's sad that the beta is getting shut down, but I think it was the right call because outside of people preparing for this dueling tournament, it's been pretty dead on the server. So, but yeah, you basically see in these duels how strong bear form is. I pretty much stay in bear form most of the fight. I don't have the mana to be doing much else. I know people probably were wondering, you know, why I'm just sitting in bear form. Also, people probably were wondering why I was pooling so much rage. You really want to pool a lot of rage against melee classes. So like against a rogue, I'll pool a lot of rage at the beginning because if I want to use frenzied regeneration to heal myself up, it's going to take a lot of rage from me to use that efficiently. I saw other druids using it when they had like almost no rage, and it's barely going to heal you because it's converting rage into health. So I think some people might be used to later iterations of the ability in different expansions, because I know in other expansions the ability kind of works a little bit differently, but yeah, that's how it works in vanilla. It requires rage to use, so popping it when you have 0 rage is pretty much useless. So that's why I was pooling a lot of rage against certain classes. And then as you can see, I don't do like a ton of damage as bear, but I can get some pretty juicy crits here and there. And so the duel that I did win against Savix, I got 2 back-to-back bear mauls that hit for like 450 and then like 400. So I was able to, you know, chunk him pretty fast there. And that's kind of what the fights against rogues that I had came down to. Like the duels that I dueled Bobka, or what I dueled Zanny. He helped me out a bit with stuff. And the only duels I ever really would win against them is when I got some good lucky crits. Rogues have high dodge chance, and it's hard to get behind them when they're keeping crippling up on you. So your damage is kind of based on how lucky you get with crits and how lucky you get with, everything else. That being said, so yeah, this fight lasts for a really, really long time. Not much to say here. With Druid, it's pretty much a fight of attrition. You can try and burst. I mean, like with Feral, you can try and burst people down in cat form, but the problem is they're going to do more damage and kill you faster than you can do to them. So you pretty much have to rely on getting a good opener with cat form and getting your bleeds up and dealing some damage that way. And then after that, you really need to switch bear form almost right away. Here's a duel against Clack. Clack and I chatted for quite a while, so I didn't know that I was going to have to face him in the tournament, but I did think it was funny that he kicked me out of the level 30 tournament, and then this time around he beat me and kicked me out of this tournament as well. So as you can see, Shadow Priests just have so much damage, and I think this was one of the first Shadow Priests that I had dueled, and I was pretty blown away by how much damage he was able to pump out. The problem is they use so much mana dealing their damage, but that being said, it's like very hard for you, especially if you don't have an NS. It's very, very hard for you to keep yourself alive through it, because of that silence that they have is very impactful. So yeah, like I said, it's just it's a tough fight, but I'm glad that if anyone beat me, I'm okay with him kicking me out of the tournament. This duel is against Charles. I'd fought him like once or twice before, but this one's pretty close. At level 30, I can't remember actually. I think level 30 Paladins were pretty garbage. Level 40, they're actually really strong, it feels. And then at level 60, they're kind of mediocre. Like as a Druid, I don't really ever struggle with rep Paladins. They just don't have, even if they're really geared, they just don't have enough burst to kill me unless there's some kind of reckoning build and then they've stacked up a bunch of, and wreck bomb me. But in general, you can just run away from a Paladin if you get worried about it. So not much in regards to Paladins, to be honest. So you can see I start getting some good hits on him here. He juked me on that heal, so I bashed the next one, got a crit. He gets pretty close to death. But what happens here? I think I get out of form to heal, and then he hodges me, and I have no outs for it. Because I don't have bash, I don't have yeah, there. I didn't have bash or war stomp, so that's all I could do. This is dueled against warrior. Warrior is very easy for druids to beat at this level. If you're not beating a warrior at this level, they're either playing like a god or they have really, really, really good gear. And they get some lucky crits that you shouldn't really lose to a warrior. It just you have too much in your toolkit. Now if it's an orc, maybe because of stun resist, I can see. I accidentally kill him there, but all's good. He got resurrected. So now these are some duels in STV against Steezy. I dueled him a lot. Excuse me. He was facing a druid in his first matchup. I think it was him versus Slizzard, and I think they were the very first people to play. And I told him that since I'm feral, it's not going to be great practice, but he had no one else to practice against. So we did duel anyways. I think the issue with him is he tried to play the long game too much. Like I think he needed to rely on burst a little bit more to beat Slizzard, but it's very, very hard when a druid has NS. If he's playing against me as Feral, he has a better chance. Feral versus druid, or Feral Druid versus Mage at this level is about 50-50. At 60, it's much more favored in the Druid's favor, because the Druid will have points into Resto, so they have NS and Insect Swarm, and they can kind of play more of like a healing balance play style where they stay back and just basically, if you're playing a Druid against a Mage, the way you win is you just keep your dots up on them, keep your hots up on you, and then just travel form every single Nova, so they never get shatters. And if you do that, basically you should be able to win. Even if a Mage has really, really good gear, you really shouldn't lose to a Mage at 60. And that was the case at 30. You saw how easy it was for Druids to beat Mages in the tournament. At 30, and then at 40, it's the same thing. The only trouble would be, like I said, if you're Feral, then it's probably, the matches are probably going to come down to more like 50-50. Whereas if you're Resto, it's going to be a cakewalk. But you can easily juke people out. Like if you saw there, you can easily juke Mages who know that you have Feral Charge. You can juke them out of their casts if you just kind of strafe to the side, because normally that's indicator that you're trying to move back and get a little bit further away from them before you charge. So that's the best tip I have for you on kind of faking out a Mage to get them to stop casting one of their abilities, which is nice because you can waddle at them in bear form, and they're sitting there, casting a Frostbolt at you, and they're close to the end of the cast, and you just kind of stutter step back to the side, and they're going to interrupt or they're going to stop casting normally because they think you're going to charge them. So, and then obviously when you're going to charge them, don't do the stutter step, because that's kind of their indicator that you're going to do it. So you can kind of start, you can kind of mind game people that way, but then obviously once they get to know your play style, they probably won't get fooled by that as much. So as you can see, the times that he gets close to killing me is when he relies a lot more on burst. But other than that, it's pretty much just a tool. There's a fake there, so he didn't get the silence off on me there. I mean the interrupt. But the biggest thing is just the mana for a Mage. Like with bear form, especially as Feral, where I have Heart of the Wild, I just have such a large health pool, and then I can just pool Rage and then heal myself up with Frenzied Regen while I'm waiting for like mana to come back in form. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And then he can't. Also, one thing that you want to do as Feral is I constantly was keeping Fairy Fire, like basically just using it as much as I could to keep him in combat, because the longer he can stay in combat, the less likely he's going to be able to do something like this where he gets away and drinks. So just try and use Fairy Fire as much as you possibly can, keeping them in combat, not letting them reset. That's very important. And that's also important on a rogue. I know a lot of druids like the fancy, pre-abolish a blind. That's a cool play. However, you don't need to pre-abolish a blind if you have Fairy Fire up on them, because what a rogue is doing when they're blinding you is they're either there's a few things that they're doing. They're either trying to buy 8 seconds to get a bandage off and then re-stealth, or they're going to try and like escape completely, and they just don't want anything to do with the fight. So if they don't want anything to do with the fight, then yeah, being able to pre-abolish it is nice. However, as long as you have Fairy Fire up on them, even if they do get you in the blind, it's not a huge concern for you because you know they're not going to get that big reopener on you, right? So they're kind of just sitting there. Maybe they get some ticks off of first aid, but other than that, they're not really doing much with that blind. It's negated by the fact that you have Fairy Fire. But yes, I mean, I had fun doing these duels against Steezy. So my thought was there's a 50-50 chance that I beat Savix. I have to get kind of lucky with not having resists on my stuns, and then I might be able to pull it off, right? Well, and then I looked at it and I said, okay, well, what's going to happen is the mage is 100% going to get beat by the priest. I had no doubt in my mind that the mage would get beaten by the priest, and so if I beat Savix, I'd be up against a priest, and if Savix beat me, I'd move into the loser. So I knew I was either going to have to be facing a mage or a priest, and so I did duel quite a few frost mages. Because I wouldn't have worried about dueling frost mages as much, but knowing that I was playing Feral, I needed to kind of figure out what my playstyle was going to be. So I did use a lot more intellect gear, so I would be able to shift more, as I knew I wasn't really going to be killing them. I was mainly just going to be surviving until they oomed, and then I could kill them. And you kind of saw that with what happened in the dueling tournament versus Cano. I basically survived long enough, and also I was able to get AGM, so Arena Grandmaster, and my thinking in the duel was I was sitting there and he got me probably, I think I was like 50% health, maybe 40% health, and I shifted out of bear form and I just casted Regrowth, and I said to myself, I'm not going to fake cast this at all. If he buys it that I'm not going to fake cast and he just silences me, then I'm silenced. Oh well, I'll pop AGM, and at that point I get a huge absorb. So that's exactly what I did, and it worked out. I didn't really have to worry about fake casting because I just took the silence, and then I was able to just use AGM. So having AGM obviously helped me out a lot. I was able to actually get that the night before. I had 11 out of 12, and the night before I went in there, and there was 2 horde in there, and they were getting it and stuff, and I was like, I just basically said and say, I was like, please, can I have it? I just need one more. And so they actually let me take it, and so that's how I was able to get AGM the night before the tournament, which it did help out a bit, but it wasn't actually as impactful as I thought it would be. It probably helped me out in my mage duel, though. My mage duel might have been a loss if I didn't have it. I would have had to be a lot more careful about getting silenced. So as you can see with these duels with Steezy, it's pretty much just they're long duels, and it's just about me basically getting him out of mana, and then I'm finally able to slowly kill him. But one thing I do want to address is I know a lot of people when I started the duel and people realized that I was feral, people were like giving me crap and whispers or saying like, why would you go feral? It's such a bad idea. If you look at the duel series Chance had against Peo, he got destroyed by a rogue, and I knew that was going to happen if I was Resto. And you have to look at it also as Peo is undead. So Chance had a better outcome against an undead than he did against an orc because of stun resist. Like druids rely on not having their stuns resisted, obviously, because their stuns are their biggest ways or stuns are their biggest way to stay alive. You know, basically they can get stun off and then they can CC the rogue off of them. So with that being said, I had to go up against an orc, and I knew the stun resist thing was going to be a huge issue. And I knew like my gear was nowhere near as good as some of these other druids. I still had my chest piece from level 30. I still had my gloves, and my boots were both cloth gloves and cloth boots that I had at level 30. My rings were the same. Like I literally had upgraded almost nothing out of my my resto stuff. I just all the stuff that I picked up at 40 was feral, and I just hadn't really farmed stuff out. I wasn't even sure that I was going to be in this tournament at the beginning, to be honest. So this is not an excuse. Obviously, I could have worked a little harder on getting geared out, but I honestly think that feral against a rogue was my best option. Like I said, especially against a orc. That being said, in terms of would it have gone different if I was resto, maybe it really would have come down to the same things. It would have come down to the fact of like if my bash missed, or I mean if my bash resisted or was dodged. I think my first duel it got dodged, and then my second duel, I think it landed my second duel. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look. But yeah, that's a big thing with orc. That's one reason why horde also is nice, to be able to not have to face orc when you rely so heavily on stuns. So Zanny, shout out to Zanny. He helped me out a lot in terms of trying to prepare for my my duels against Savix. So I tried a whole lot of things, guys, and I know a lot of people were probably curious of like why I chose to sit in bear form so much. Why didn't I try and pop out and heal myself? And my goal was to pop out and heal myself if I was able to get a stun off. And I really I wasn't having any luck with my stuns in the duels. So yeah, I did kind of just sit there in bear form and slowly die. But there's not a whole lot else you can do. If I pop out, most rogues are waiting with 5 points or 5 combo points for the time that you switch out, and what they're going to do is they're going to full kidney shot you there, and then you're dead. So you don't really have that much in terms of a toolkit for that. Like obviously you could trinket, but that will only be up for one of the duels. So that's why I trinketed out the second duel out of the stun. And I was able to get some distance with a root. So, like I said, just a tough matchup overall. If there was any rogue that I'd like to lose to, Savix is a good one. I really like him. So I'm glad that he was able to go further in the tournament. In general, I think this tournament was it was pretty clear that it was a priest dominant tournament. Priests are very strong at 60 as well, but 40, it's just crazy. I just don't think people don't have the sustain to outlast the priests. But and by the way, this duel is so bad. Don't even get caught up on this duel, guys. I probably should have just not even put this one in here. I did dual healing stat. This was my only duel against him. I knew that I possibly might have to duel him if I did beat Savix, because I was pretty sure he'd beat a mage. But with him being disc, it's just so hard because he's able to mana burn you when you get out of form, and then he just was basically wanding and regenning mana here. So not much. I just I bashed him, and then I just stayed in form too. Like I don't even know. I didn't even try to pop out and get some heals or something. Maybe I knew I was low mana, but I don't know. But yeah, the dueling tournament overall was a lot of fun. I know Tips at the end was talking about how he'd like to do more of these dueling tournaments, and how he thinks that they're a really good thing for the community. I agree, but I kind of agree in a different way. I think community events like like dungeon runs, like fast dungeon clears or like fast raid clears, like racing against another guild, or like Warsong Gulch versus Warsong Gulch, or maybe some coordinated duels in the Gurubashi arena against different people, like kind of your own arenas. That would be fun to me. Duels are just very they're very one-sided. Like think about it this way: if you're a mage, especially at level 60 or say back at the level 30 bracket or something like that, and you're put up against a druid, like what are you going to do? You're going to just lose. There's not really anything you can do. If you're a warrior and you're going up against a druid, what are you going to do? You're going to lose. Whereas if I'm going up against, a shadow priest or a warlock, what am I going to do? Just lose. So there is some skill to it, but then, there's a lot of drama with like brackets and like who gets what. So personally, I'd rather see like Warsong Gulches or something like that. But I know a lot of people enjoy the dueling tournaments. What do you guys think? I think it goes to show exactly what can happen in a dueling tournament just based off brackets. You see Sea-Doo had to go up against Shadow Priests. Shadow Priests are a counter to Shamans. Sea-Doo got destroyed, right? Whereas last tournament, the one hosted by Asmongold, Sea-Doo got lucky and was against mage after mage after mage. Mage is very, very easy for elemental shaman. It's super easy for an elemental shaman to beat a mage even at 60, even if they're not even that geared. As a shaman, you basically counter every little thing that a mage can do. So the fact that Sea-Doo won that tournament, he's still a god player. Like, he's an amazing player, so don't discount him that way. But he did get lucky with the brackets. So that's kind of my point, is these dueling tournaments are, having a lower bracket for if you lose one time, I like that. That's definitely a good idea. However, I think that dueling tournaments in terms of 60 might be fun to watch, but in terms of being balanced and fair and, having a good outlook for every single competitor, I think doing like Warsong Gulch groups or something like that would be a little bit more fun. That being said, guys, I know I just kind of rambled this whole video, but the last one I put out like this, people seem to enjoy it. So hope you enjoyed this one. We'll be back to normal videos on Wednesday. I need to put out a Dire Maul Lasher farm video. I need to put out some other farming videos for druids. I have a follow-up video to Maradon. I found out how you reset instances in the beta. So, in what am I trying to say? On private servers, you basically can do a camp macro, and you reset the instance, and then you log out, and then when you log back in, you're outside of the instance right at the front, and so you can easily start running again. You can't do that in the beta, so you had to kind of find a way around it. I was able to find a way around it thanks to some other people that I talked to, tested it out, got footage of it, so we'll do a video on that. And then obviously we're going to get closer and closer to launch, and I have a lot of launch videos coming out. A lot of videos on optimizing leveling, optimizing getting ahead of the pack, all those kind of videos that people want to hear about. So yeah, stay tuned to those, and that's about it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the tournament, and I'll catch you in the next one.